This is Penny's desensitizing review. So I just have her loose out here in the round pen, and I'm just gonna catch her. So I just come up kind of in front of her shoulder, and then I step back and she'll come up to me. And as soon as she starts coming up to me, I click to reward her, and then she'll usually come most of the way up, and then I'll feed her a treat. And I just go ahead and step toward her shoulder and put her halter on. So that's how I catch them most of the time. Like if they're a pasture stall, it doesn't matter. Like, you just want to grab their attention by stepping in front of that drive line and then backing up. You can draw them towards you. It's not always that easy, but it should be once you get them trained right. So I'm just going to start here in the middle of the round pen here, and we're just going to review desensitizing to the lead rope. So I started her off in the middle of the pen here so she doesn't feel trapped by any of the panels, or like there she's getting a little scared, so she'll move her shoulders away and kind of cock her hips toward me. So that's a classic sign that they're not comfortable. So like she's moving around here obviously, but that's a defensive signal. So when she's moving her shoulders because she doesn't want the rope on her shoulders, but she's also pushing those hips in case she needs to kick out and defend herself, or push off to run away. So you want to pay attention to that. Like as soon as she pushed them over, I yielded her hindquarters away. So like right there, I just kept going. She moved around, and then she showed a sign of relaxing. So I clicked, and then I gave her a treat, and then I'm just moving her back over to start again. So a sign of relaxing first is stopping. So like she stopped moving her feet. Then I'll click and I'll reward that. If the horse is not moving their feet, then I will do the next part is flinching, or like releasing tension in their body. So usually the horse will flinch, and then when they stop flinching, you stop. And then the next one, like if she's just really, really tense and then you see them relax, I would also click that. Lowering the head sometimes, like it has to be accompanied by a full eye blink all the way, not like a half one or like a twitch or there's a bug in their eye. That's not how it works. So be a whole eye blink. Or just a whole eye blink by itself. You want to be careful to not reward just a head down, because horses will just head down and then come back up, and they'll just do that for you to get rid of it, and they're not really fully okay with whatever you're doing, with whatever desensitizing you're doing. Okay, so all I'm doing there is I'm starting out in front of her, so it's two parts of desensitization. So like when I come up here, so I step back a couple steps forward, so that desensitizing, I'm coming up, I'm moving toward her, like she's getting scared, so I'm just keeping on the withers here. So the approach is one part of it, and then when I go to throw that rope up, it's my arm moving up, and then that rope actually touching her. So there's like three parts to it. So then she relaxed, and then I stopped, and then I started again. So she's having a little trouble with the approach part. Like she's fine once I'm standing here like this and just tossing it over, but when I come up and toss it over, she's having the issue, which is why adding in the approach is so important, because they're going to get quick approaches by things. So you can see from that hind view that she pushed her shoulders over and then cocked her hips, but she did move then her hips over, so I didn't have to correct her. And I just correct her by just bumping that lead rope toward her hip to push it away. It's not really correction. It's just like, hey, let's move them over just to be safe so I'm not in the way. There she's leaning with her shoulders, but her hips aren't necessarily pointing toward me, but she's avoiding them. So you just want to pay attention to every little detail there. Like she's moving away. See those hips come, and I kind of push them away with my rope by just pulling up toward her hip. So she's showing me lots of body language where she's not totally okay with this part right here. So she's doing that step away. She's got her head tilted away. She's looking away. She's flinching, so I just gotta wait until she's there. She wasn't flinching, so I retreated, come back, do it again, slide my hand down the rope as I come up there, so she's not moving, but she's still flinching. So that's still a sign of stress and tension. So my hand slides down as I come up. That's super important because you want to have control. Like there, I had to bump toward her hip, get her hips moved away. You got to have control. You can't go up there with 5 feet in the line. You're kind of at your horse's mercy there. If you need to pull their head around for whatever reason and get their hindquarters away, you don't have enough time to react with that long of a rope. So I'm just going to repeat this until I can go up there at a regular pace like this is, and she's cool with it. So I just started this regular walking pace. If your horse is just losing it, go back down just like a slow walking pace. There's to relax, a rewarder. So when she does like something really good like that, she wasn't reacting as much, I do click and reward that and make sure she knows that that was really good and what I was looking for. I do reward all of them. Like, you don't want to release the pressure while they're flinching or tense, because then you're rewarding from that. So you're saying, oh, this pressure comes up, and then when you're tense, it goes away. Like, that's not what we want to teach them at all. We want instead to just like, oh, the pressure was scary and you stayed relaxed. I'm like, yeah, perfect. So that's the part you want to reward. So there, she's getting better. She's just kind of leaning away, kind of looking away, and then she comes back down to relaxation a lot quicker. Same there. That was a lot better. So she moved a little, and then she just, okay, came back, relaxed, and blinked her eye there. But I always start up on the withers, and then I move a little bit further back. So I don't care if she follows me a little bit when I back up. That was a lot better there. There, she's blinking her eyes. So I clicked and rewarded her. That's really what you're looking for there. I was waiting here because she's got her head tilted toward me. I want her head straighter away. So that's why I didn't feed her right away. So I don't mind if she comes like toward me a little bit, but I don't want her to come in my space. So we just work on backing up a little. And I just give her a minute to chew and hang out before I start again. So I've kind of moved on a little bit further past the withers. So you want to make sure you can get the withers, and then she was just standing there nice and relaxed while I came up, tossed them over the withers. Then you move on to the back right here. And then I'll move on to her hindquarters. So each part has to be working well. So you don't want to move on to the back or the hindquarters if your withers aren't good. So she was good on the withers, she was good on the back. Now moving up to her hips, top of her hips. And then I like to do withers, back, top of the hips, and then kind of like right behind her tail, like where you'd put the bar on the trailer, like right back there. And then I do like on her hocks and down by her legs. So I think she was just more worried about the initial me stepping up. Like you can see she has a slight head tilt, but she's not like moving her shoulders away. She's not flinching and not quite as dramatic as she was in the beginning. She still has a little bit of body language there, but she's not nearly as worried as she was. So I had her back up there a little bit because she was kind of in my space, so you can see that head tilt away. So she's licking her lips, which is good, which is what you want, but they're thinking, but it's not always thinking about something good. So in this scenario, yes, she's thinking about something good because she has made a change from more reactive to more relaxed. But sometimes like just the licking is not always good thing. So lots of people tell you like, oh, they're licking their lips, that's good, but they could have bucked you off and then ran off and then stopped and licked their lips and like, oh, this is how I get out of work or not have to deal with this pressure. So you just want to be careful reading that body language, like what the horse is thinking about. In this case, she is thinking about something positive. So you can see here, she's kind of still worried about me, especially when I come up to her shoulder. So you can see she was a lot less reactive once I moved past the withers. And I think that's just one of her things. Like if I move my hand and I'm up in front of her shoulder, like near her neck or her head, she overreacts and like thinks I'm gonna hit her or something. So I think she's had some bad experience down the road there. So I gotta do a lot of extra desensitizing and make sure she's cool with that. Like that was a lot better. I would rather, like she flinched there, but I would rather, she's got her head tipped off to her right. Like I want her head straight. Like she's kind of trying to disassociate here. And what that is like they're just like, oh, I'm not here. Like they're kind of like trying to get out of the situation. So people will go, like if you go to a party and you don't really like it, or you don't know anybody in a room, like you get on your phone. That's kind of what this is for a horse. So they're like, oh, look over here. There's a bird over here. Like whatever it is, they're just trying to cope with the situation. It's the same thing that a person's doing. But you just got to pay attention to that. Like I know she's doing it here because she's doing it this side as well. So she's better on this side. She's not as reactive on her right side, which makes sense. If someone were to hit her, it's going to be more often on the left side because she was a racehorse for quite a few years. Makes sense. But I see I'm kind of pulling her nose toward me here. I'll put pressure, and then when she brings it over, I'll release. And then if she pulls her head back, I'll bump a little harder and then release when she comes back. So when I do that, like I'm saying, okay, like you need to come back to me and like, let's deal through the situation. So I don't want to grab on her and yank her head back and force her into it, but I am putting pressure on her saying, hey, like, we need to work through this situation together. You can't just look off and disassociate from me. So I'm doing the same thing on this side. You got to do both sides. Every horse is going to have one better side, one worse side. This is her better side. She still is like kind of not wanting to be there, but she isn't nearly as reactive as she is on the other side. So part of that's going to be because she's already done it some on the left, and partly because this is her right side and hasn't been used by humans that much, which in her case is good. So, but same thing, I take about 2 or 3 steps out in front of her, and then I slide my hand down as I come up. So right here, slide my hand down, take a few steps, and then I toss it over her withers, and I want to stay at an angle from her shoulders to keep myself safe. So like when she's looking off and disassociating, like she has one ear on me, she has one ear on whatever, or she might have both ears on me or one on the stimulus or something. But if they're just looking off, she's gonna have both ears up and she's gonna be staring off. So if she's really like looking at something, they'll have a bit different signs. So she was kind of wanting to follow me, so I just gently asked her to back up, and she backed up really nice. She usually gets kind of cranky when I ask her to back up and she wants to pin her ears, but that was really nice. It was a light cue and she had a good expression and she backed up really well. So I went ahead and clicked her for that. And then I just let the lead rope hang down, give her a nice release, no pressure, and just let her chew and think about it. So again, moved on. So she was like giving me pretty good, like that was really nice. Good signals here that I could move on down her back to her hips here. So I'm like, you can tell my swing's kind of not in the greatest direction. Like it's not in the same exact place every time. Like sometimes it's up on her hips, sometimes I miss. It's not the end of the world. Just keep going like you planned it like that. I'm aiming for the top of the hips, but sometimes I don't quite get there. But just kind of act like it was planned. Like it's not a big deal. You don't want to freak out. You definitely don't want to stop, especially if your horse is flinching or showing any signs of tension or worry, or if they're moving around. You don't want to stop because then you're rewarding them. So you just want to keep going and then just try and hit your target. If you're really struggling, go ahead and practice on a fence or something. So there she was really relaxed. I walked up with some energy and tossed on her hind legs. She was totally cool, showed me signs of relaxing, so I clicked. And that's important to, you can't hear the click on this since this is a voiceover and my audio was very windy, so it did not work. But the click is when the horse is relaxed, showing a sign of relaxation, and I am desensitizing her at the same time. So I'm not clicking and I stop desensitizing at the same time. I click while she's doing both those things. She's relaxed while I'm desensitizing. I click and then I stop desensitizing. Because I'm rewarding for, hey, you are being really relaxed while I desensitize. That's super important. So she was good all down her legs. Legs are really easy for her, so we're gonna move on to desensitizing with a whip. Back on her left side. So the second lesson here is just same thing, just with a lunge whip. You can use a training stick, you can use a driving whip, whatever kind of whip you wanna use. And I just kind of go through that real fast. She's not super worried about the whip, and I think that is because there's less hand movement. So there she was dissociating. I just kind of tapped her back here. So then like when I kind of asked for her head, she kind of moved because she was a little worried there. And she was like when she was looking away, she was kind of off in her own little zone. And then I asked her to come back. So she was like, oh, maybe I should move. Maybe I want to move. And she is a movie horse. She wants to be doing something all the time. So back to that. So you can see my arm movement is a lot less with this whip, and I think that's what really worries her, is when I come up and my arm swings to toss that rope over, and I think she just reacts like she's gonna get hit or she's gonna get in trouble or she's gonna have someone yank on her. I think that's what her main issue is here, because there's a lot less arm movement with this, but there's more sound with the whip, and the same sensation is barely the same. So I'm thinking that is what her issue is, but the same lesson is same as desensitizing with rope. I'm going up desensitizing. She showed me a sign of relaxation, so I clicked and rewarded. So I click and reward the really, really, really good things. So like she was just like standing there, totally relaxed, had her head level, blinked her eyes. I'm like, yeah, perfect. Or the things where she's really struggling, like they couldn't she could not get over it, and then, oh, she finally did, so I click reward. So I'm gonna move on. She was really cool with the second lesson, so I'm desensitized to sound, which she's a little worried about, so I'm gonna let her walk. I'm just gonna keep my whip the same distance away from her in the same position as it was when we were at a standstill. Sometimes that's hard to do, you just wanna get as close as you can. And I give her plenty of space here, so I'm just, like, I have room so she can move without, like, getting out of control and just running. So I think this is a 14-foot lead rope, and there she stopped on her own. So she stopped, I quit desensitizing, and I click and reward her. Or I should say, she stops while I'm desensitizing, I click, and then I stop my desensitizing and feed her as the correct order. So I just moved her there. That's why the camera cut. Moved her to a better location so you can see. But that also does two things. I'm retreating, so it's good to kind of retreat every once in a while, especially after they've been good. But I'm doing it for the camera. So she was then again there really good, and I just go ahead and click and reward her. So there she got a little nervous of me just moving that rope over. So I just keep doing it until she relaxes, like right there. There's like little things, like if you drop a bucket in the barn, your horse spooks, just go ahead and drop it again until they're more relaxed, show you sign relaxing, then stop. So it's just little things around the barn like that, or just handling things you got to be aware of, like that head down, she's like looking away, she doesn't want to like kind of interact with the situation, she doesn't want to be hurt. That's just a calming signal that horses give you. So there she had her head more even, she was relaxed, so I clicked and rewarded her. And this one, besides the approach with the rope tossing over her head, this one was the desensitizing lesson that she struggled the most with. I think it was because the noise she didn't like. Obviously it sounds like a whip because it's a lunge whip, so I think just being on the track, she just associated that with negative things. So she just wanted to take off for a really long time. So she's really getting a lot better with that. And it's important here, I'm off away from her shoulder, parallel with her head or her neck, and then my arm is outstretched. My left arm is outstretched to my side and the whip's out there. So it's far away from her. You don't want to start right next to the horse. You want to build your way up to that. So she stays relaxed, shows me a sign of relaxation, which I believe was blinking. It's hard to see her eye from here. That's normally what it is. And then I just go ahead and click her while she's showing me the sign of relaxation while I desensitize, and then I feed and let her hang out for a minute. And I start again. So like she's comfortable as far as not moving around, not super body tense, but she is still kind of looking off here, which I'd like her to be a bit straighter. So she moved her head a little bit straighter and blinked her eye there. So I went ahead and clicked and fed her. So you can see that she's got that same body language, like she's kind of avoiding it, but she's like somewhat relaxed. So I'm gonna reward it because it's not the running away that we had in the beginning. And yes, she was walking, but that's the beginning of running away. She wasn't actually running or trotting or anything, but this is a little bit better. I like that her head's there. It's not down and away, it's more even and straight. So she's not looking away quite as much. She seemed like she was hiding a bit right there. So I'm gonna end on that note because she was not hiding quite as much. And this is just a review for her. I just kind of want to do it a little bit more until she can stay more relaxed and not feel the need to move or try and get out of the situation. So it gets a little bit repetitive, but that's horse training. It's very repetitive. So there, her hips are a little tipped toward me, so I'm just going to tip her nose toward me and bring that rope in my left hand up toward her hip. Just keep me safe. So there, she was nice and relaxed. Had her head straight, blinked her eye, so I'm going to click and reward. And I don't mind having her head down, give her a nice amount of rope so she can move her head and neck and not feel trapped. And there she's going to move off, so I'm going to say she can. I'm not preventing her from, I'm just going to kind of move those hindquarters over so it's a little harder to do that. You can see her ears flick back, and like every time the whip hits the ground, that right ear flicks back. So she's listening the whole time and still paying attention. would still like her head to be straighter. And I mean, she's also been trained to turn her head away to receive food, so that could play a factor in it as well. But since I've been working with her and training her, I know she does get nervous and she does try and like just look away all the time. She does that a lot. So I think with her, it's more of a calming signal versus like, oh, feed me. I'm gonna put my head over here. She's not alert. She's more like withdrawn and she's looking away. So each horse is different and they have different body language. So we just gotta kind of pay attention to each individual horse. But I'm happy that she's not moving around. The first few lessons, she moved around a lot more. Like, I don't mind that little leg movement. That's totally fine. I like this. She's got her head straight, nice and relaxed. That was good. So I click while I'm desensitizing and then stop desensitizing, feed, let her hang out for a second. I usually let them chew and then I move on. And here I haven't gotten like all the way close, so I'm moving up. She's showing me no real signs. She seems really relaxed, so I just kind of moved my whip up closer to her, and that was really nice. It was really close to her, and she stayed nice and relaxed, so that was a good review of the desensitizing lessons.